Good morning. Welcome to Equity Story. Trade Watch, 18th of October, the Wednesday, middle of the week, of course. So I'm on my own. I'm going to be talking about the usual stuff, what happened last night, where we are right now, some interesting announcements, any other announcements that might be driving the market. And we'll have a look at the watch list and see what else we can find. Before I start, we've got Equity Story disclaimer in front of you. Of course, every story I'm going to talk about is going to be pretty much based on technicals and fundamentals only. All right, let's jump in straight away into what is actually happening last night on the US. And as you can see, it has been not a bad day. We had some news last night on the economic front in the US. And it was, if I actually go back and actually first of all, I'll show you the calendar. This is what the market was really looking for. Yes, the retail sales. So forecast 0.3, previous 0.8. So it went down a bit, but it was pretty strong numbers, right, for retail sales. So again, good news equals bad news equals good news. This is exactly what's been happening at the moment. Very difficult to have a fine balance right now. So the market's a little bit fragile, really jumping, short-term, moving, fluctuating, difficult. That's what the market is right now. And of course, we've got all the other issues as well going on globally with two conflicts and other slew of problems, right? So what do we make of this? I'd say markets are looking possibly, interest rates are still on the table. Interest rates are still on the table. Inflation is probably still going to be an issue. Definitely it's still an issue, but it's going to be an issue for longer, stronger. So the problem is we just don't have, I suppose, something to hang on to positive that we are getting better with time. It is still quite difficult to just get myself in and going, all right, I think in 6 months we're going to be here. I just can't see it at the moment. So I'm just trying to understand exactly where we are. So with a bit more time, bit more information flowing through, and with a bit more time behind us, I think we'll find out exactly where we're heading. But right now, volatility, we've had the start of the reporting season, which we'll go through in a sec. You'll see some of their companies announcing, but difficult. That's the only word I can use right now. All right, so let's jump out of that. Look at actually the markets, what happened last night. So it wasn't actually too bad. So if you look at the session, up, then down, and then it's sort of trying to recover by the end of the day. But, you know, it wasn't too bad. And you can see S&P pretty much flat. Dow Jones pretty much flat. NASDAQ slightly down. The Russell 2000 was up. So all up, wasn't a bad day. Gold was up slightly. Copper was up slightly. Oil was the one that was moving up last night, and iron ore pretty flat. So nothing really to get too excited about. So if we jump into the markets and exactly to see what's going on, there was, I think, a slew of further shorts in the consumer staples in the US. So I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. I think technology underperformed last night, of course, with Nvidia down 4.7%. So right now, there's still pressure. So earnings wise, let's see what happened there. We've had maybe 3 or 4 stocks. Goldman Sachs, negative 1.6, earnings beat, but revenue miss. Johnson & Johnson double beat sales growth. Lockheed Martin double beats. So there's some good announcements from the companies by the looks of things, right? On the back of what the expectations were, what the company is producing. So from that point of view, at least we had a pretty decent start to the reporting season in the US. Like I said, last couple of days, please be the saving grace for the rest of the month, because it has been great. And I'm hoping that maybe the earnings will sort of arrest the bit of volatility that we had. China, unfortunately, is not playing nicely. It's pretty bad. So let's see what actually they can come up with, if they can come up with anything at all. All right, so let's move on. Let's have a quick look at the actual commodity prices, just to see if there's anything that's standing out. Let's see. No, coal's going down. So I think probably Brent crude oil is the one that's really at the moment in a spotlight. Obviously gold a little bit, so it's still steady, so that you can still probably play that. Iron ore still pretty good, so we're going to have a look at some of the stories that come up with some announcements. Other than that, pretty poor rest of it. All right, let's jump into some announcements. We've got a few to actually get through, so we'll go through those right now. Let's change the screen so we can have a look at them. And let's start with, first of all, let's look at the XJI, right? So today's price performance is, let's have a look. Is it up? Is it up? Yeah, it is up. What? Almost 12 points, but it's not too bad. So the weekly sort of trying to work itself back. Is it gonna have a good time of it? It's still below trend, so really nothing to be excited about. But at least it's trying, right? It's not a disaster by any means, but it's still looking pretty negative, I have to say. That's only just a bounce. Could be a dead cat bounce before we go down again. So overall, not a great picture, but it's not a terrible picture. All right, let's have a look at some of these announcements. So let's start with MRM. I think that's a decent looking chart. Pretty good big contract, 30 million over what, 8-9 months, I think they said, with the Department of Defense, as you can see here. So expecting maybe this will have a little bit of a swing here with the next few weeks. So we had a pretty good move. It's been doing very, very well, right? On a longer term chart, as you can see, it's been swinging quite nicely. So I'm expecting similar type performance, and it's been holding that red line very, very strongly, and that's the really aggressive line. So you got to give it kudos. Very good chart, possibly swinging charts. Just maybe too early to get into it. We've got to just see a better, greener candle, and maybe then we can get in. But good announcement today, really strong. I like it. All right, let's look at that gold play. Red, not bad. Maybe 24 months ago, you'd go $2,000 for sustaining costs. Way too much for me. But in a 3,000 environment of gold, you're going, okay, well, I'm going to take some money. So good looking chart, but in a normal world, this would be too expensive on a on a cost basis. So for me, trade it while you can, with a view that maybe when things normalize, this is not going to look as good, right? But right now, it's not bad. Let me just have a look what the daily has done today. It's actually holding on quite well. So if you're trading on the daily, you're okay. But maybe profit take. I mean, that's maybe what I'm looking at here at this chart on red. Maybe profit take, unless the gold keeps going up. But I think 1, 2, 3, 4. Look, this is exhaustion pattern 101, isn't it? Exhaustion pattern 101. So for me, maybe profit taking from here. All right, let's go to the next one. EVN, another Goldie. Obviously one of our favorites. So they've come up with a decent production. Costs gone down. So all up, I don't mind this. This is probably one of the better ones I've seen. It is starting to move up above the trend line, and maybe a little buy signal brewing as well. So this is one to leave for Friday and see how we go. Hopefully gold still is looking good by Friday. So that's, this is one of the better performers right there today, which is nice to see. Just have looking at a daily. I think it's up 1%. So yeah, watch that one for Friday. Let's have a look at BHP. They come up with their quarterly figures, and again, iron ore is the driving force here. A nice looking chart, by the way. This looking pretty good. Starting to take back up again. You can see it's holding this little line here beautifully, isn't it? So again, if you're in for the dividends, no problems. If you're trading this, no, not yet. Other than that, decent story. I mean, we can't say too much about it. They've got some good parts, not so good parts. The good parts are still working quite nicely for them. All right, let's look at CTT. So CTT, really good performer as a company. Not a great sector to be in right now. So retail is pretty difficult, right? And look, it's just going all over the shop right now. So it had, let's just have a look at it. So it had a pretty positive start. So it's up, almost 8-9%, I think, this morning. So it's now moderating to about 1.5%. And for this week, it's not great. So I suppose the general consensus for this story is satire is a great story in a wrong market. And there's still a lot of clouds on the sale by the CEO, maybe, right? So it is not ideal right now. So in market's just not sure where to go with this one. Understand. So I'm not trading this at the moment, even though I probably want to. Too many questions, not enough answers, and it's not trending at the moment too brilliantly, right? So I think it needs to get over $3 again for me to have a look at this. So right now, pass. All right, but really good announcement. Oh, okay, let's look at a bad one. CCP. This is awful. Down 26%. Sorry, up down 30% now. Look at it before, it was down 36, now 30%. All right, so update from the company pretty much says guidance has been slashed due to the fact they had to do write-downs on their US business ledgers, blaming it on conditions getting tougher in the US, right? Collections are getting tougher. Not surprising. And this is the problem with higher interest rate environments. It is getting tougher to get people to pay up. I mean, it's understandable, right? People have got less money to pay up. So this environment is definitely not helping CCP. Great short for someone. So this is probably just a reflection on what's happening globally, what's happening company-wise. And I'd say maybe even further downside to go, to be honest. If this continues, if this current environment continues the way it's going, it is going to get worse for CCP. So if there's anyone in it for some reason, they should be getting out. Let's move on. SSM. So not a bad chart. Just an update from them, reiterating its guidance, going to grow. Not about, at least it's trending above trend, so that's not too bad. So from that point of view, it's a decent story to maybe have a look at. Even the daily is not too bad, but right now, is it trendable? No, because it's actually not trending. It's just going sideways. It is above trend, but it's not trending, if you know what I mean. So I would probably leave it. There's better stories out there, but at least updated fairly well, reiterated guidance, we move on. Woodside, let's have a look at their quarterly. Looks decent. I know, remember, they've got good conditions with the oil and gas doing quite well. So at the end of the day, great dividend story. And you can probably hold this one for some time, I'd say. If it pays a really good dividends, you could consider this a pretty decent long-term dividend play. I might actually have to have a look at it to see exactly if this makes sense for 12 months. Because remember, we're going to have a look at maybe 5 stories that you can look at a really strong dividend. I'm looking like a 10% dividend here. If they can maintain the earnings where we can maintain the dividend. That's the idea. So I'm going to have a look at 5 stories where you can put in your portfolio. And if there's market fluctuation, at least those stories should be well supported. So I'm looking at value and I'm looking at dividends. Is Woodside one of them? I'm going to have a look. But, in an environment like this is probably a good candidate. Let's have a look at the next one. LRS. So I think with lithium stories, they're losing their mojo and luster. So I think I'd be worried with this. They come up with an announcement, bold letters, they're moving to tier 1. But those drilling results weren't that super impressive. They were quite thin. In a way. So maybe the market's just getting a little bit tired of this. In actual fact, maybe I'll be selling on this, to be honest. I just got a bad feeling that it might come back again and try to retest that 24. So if I'm in this story, even though it's still good overall, due to the fact the greater forces are, what is the sentiment telling me? What is the lithium prices telling me? Telling me to get out of this lithium space for the moment, right? So that's what I'll be taking. However, on the bright side, if you can get lucky, and LPI did get lucky because they got a takeover offer from, I think, Codelco in Chile at 57 cents. So here we go. That's a good looking chart. But would you be touching this? Not anymore. 57 cents has been given. So you just move on. Well done to who anyone's hold it, who anyone's bought it on this. Well done to you. But that's just lucky. Someone's coming for the bid. But I think overall, general feeling, you've seen a lot of these lithium players. It's looking weak. All right, last one. ORG. Okay, so we talked about this, right? The chart looked really good. Management came up with an update today. So this is going to be quite interesting to see what actually happens here, right? So the management pretty much said, we are still happy with the takeover offer at 893, I think, on the 897, something on those lines, right? We are still happy. We wanted to go in it, but we acknowledge the share price is 30 cents up what is from the actual bids, right? And it's up to the shareholders to approve this scheme of arrangement. So the question is, so they're saying if you don't vote as a shareholder, the chances are your share price is going to collapse back to say 8 and maybe below, right? That's what they're scaring everyone to vote for this scheme. But the market's saying, and the investors are saying, nah, we can get a better bid out of these dudes, right? Or maybe someone else come in and give us a better price because we've got a good business. Octopus is doing well. We want more money, pretty much, right? So that's what the market's saying here. Who's right? I don't know. But the share price is telling here that I don't think this scheme is going to go through, because if the share price is above, yeah, why would you vote into this? Makes no sense, right? Well, we'll see what happens. They're gonna put out the booklet soon. They're gonna send it to all the shareholders, of course, and they're gonna try to do the hard sell. I think this is still, for me, an interesting play where there could be some other bidders come through. Yes, there is definitely risk. Like they say, if their bidder does pull out, then it might collapse. But overall, it's still a decent business. And in an environment where, you've got high oil prices, you've got a very good retailer, energy retailer, electricity retailer, it's pretty good, right? So where does it leave it? I think if I was a shareholder, I'd probably still be in this fundamentally. Trading-wise, a lot more difficult, of course, but fundamentally, I'd probably be still in this. All right, so we'll see what happens with that one. Yeah, one of those difficult questions to answer right now, which way it's going to go, but I think it needs to get through. All right, so let's go through some stocks that are on my watch list, and let's see what's working, what's not working. So some of the stories that we follow. So Duratec, we know it's a decent story. Let's have a look. It is bouncing nicely, so that's good to see. Nicely up 10% for the week. That's good. All right. Let's have a look. What else? WA1, it is working itself back up again, so it's moving off that. That's good signs, really good signs. So well done to that. Lindsay as well. Let's have a look at that. Yeah, that's working itself back up again. That's looking decent. So there was some buying in the ones that have been oversold, right? Possibly. So like Duratex and LAUs. Let's keep moving down. So Cettire, we saw that. Meta Group, let's have a look if that's sort of starting to work itself back up slowly. It is. All right, that's good to know as well, which is good for our portfolio, well, not portfolio, but our universe of stocks, right? Let's have a look at John Ling's, another one we like. So it's come, it had that surge after that update. It's just come back to the trend line. This is good, positive action for me. It's consolidating above the trend line. So I'm still liking that. Definitely holding that, no problems. Let's have a look at Chrysos. We talked about it. I put it on as one of my better buys on the weekly wrap. So that's looking quite good as well. Let's see how that performs. XRF, another one of our favorites that was possibly a sell. It's working. Well, it was a sell, actually. It's working itself back up again, but it's too early. So we'll leave that one alone. We know Evolution's building itself up to a buy signal by the looks of things, better in the week. So that's looking all right. So IPG, really oversold, right? At least it's bouncing now. That's good price action. Not surprising though. Remember, it can happen. It can happen, but it's not a reflection on the story. It's a reflection on the market that they want to take some profits, lightly traded. As long as it holds that line, 390, I'm okay with this, right? So yeah, it's a bit of a hit short term, but overall could be a buying opportunity around at $4, 390s, right? Anyway, let's move on to the next one. What other things are looking good? Let's take a look at Altium. Altium, chart-wise, again, good price action. Really strong report. Market loved it. Probably unsustainable. Come back to that trend lines. Like I said, nibbling opportunities, and I'm still probably holding that line. It is holding around that level. That's not bad. A price action. I'm liking it, especially in a difficult market. So that's good. All right, let's see what else is working here. Let's see the gray. Is that working itself back up again? It is slowly. Too early though. Let's look at. Let me see. AUB. Here we go. AUB. Yeah, so it had a pretty nice jump yesterday, but you know what? It's come back, had a bit of a sell-off yesterday, but it's still working itself back up. That's still a good chart. I've got no issues with this whatsoever. Looking pretty good. Same with car sales. Really strong price action. It's actually amazingly strong price action for a tech stock. Really loved by the investment community out there. So let's have a look at another one that SiteMinder was slightly, being sold down. It is bouncing off the trend line. It's still pretty good, the price action. Really can't complain about it too much. Just seeing if there's anything else in there. All right, just go right to the bottom. Obviously, CCP is the one that's down 30%. And yeah, the Babcores are obviously pretty bad, and everything else looks fairly non-plus. So we're good. I mean, most of our stocks are doing okay today, so I'm pretty happy with that. Like I said, I think, or even Boss Energy, let's have a quick look at that. I think overall, a bit of profit taking still in there, but probably still number one pick in the uranium space. All right, guys. So thank you so much for joining. Really enjoy my Wednesdays with you guys, talking through some stocks, seeing what's going on in the world. Again, wait till the end of the week. Don't rush in too much. There's lots of information. If we follow the actual markets from day to day, it can change significantly. Long term is probably the way to go right now with some of these stories. So that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking, obviously, having some cash on the side to take some opportunities. Other than that, let's hope the market stabilizes. We hope that we've got some good results out of the US and obviously here in Australia, and some of those stories deliver good news over the next couple of weeks. Cheers. Enjoy your Wednesday. See you tomorrow. Thanks, guys.